Welcome back to a year of Final Fantasy in the month of Val4 and also, unofficially, the month of the Chocobo. Today we're going to be talking about a pretty obscure Chocobo game, and that game is Chocobo World. Chocobo World was originally released on the PocketStation, which was actually never available here in the States, which is a shame, because it actually connected with Final Fantasy VIII and allows for some really cool extras, but we'll go over that in a bit. First, let's go over what the f*** a PocketStation is. For those that are around 30 or so, I can tell you it's basically like a Tamagotchi, and for those that don't know what that is, it's an incredibly portable game system with two, and only two colors, black and white. Even more basic than a regular Game Boy, which would put out 4 shades of black. So a little bit of backstory, at the end of the 90s, the world saw the craze of these little portable systems, and the first PocketStation handheld was born. And with this PocketStation, it was a sort of memory card portable console hybrid, which was released on January 23rd, 1999, which was actually pushed back about a month from December 1st of 1998 due to some issues, which may have had something to play into why it wasn't released here in the States. But anyway, though this never made it over here to the States, we did get the Dreamcast console just less than a year later, so which actually incorporated this LCD memory card aspect as a base feature of the Dreamcast itself. But anyway, I'm getting kind of off track here. Let's go back to the PlayStation realm. Here, Chocobo World was not initially available to the West, while we did eventually get it in the re-release of Final Fantasy VIII on Steam in 2013. And with this, it was ported and released as kind of like a mini game to Final Fantasy VIII. The weird thing though is that the compatibility for the PlayStation was still there. So if you could get a PocketStation from import and get it over here, you could still use it with the English release of Final Fantasy VIII. Which is just, like I said, it's really strange. It's clear that Chocobo World and the PocketStation was probably supposed to be released over here in the West, but the plans fell through for whatever reason. And this isn't evidence or anything, but I do vaguely remember reading that in a magazine. I don't know if it was GamePro or what, but like I said, I could be misremembering that, but I was aware that this was a thing back then, so I don't know how I was aware of that. I'm pretty sure it was a magazine though. But anyway, on to Chocobo World itself. It was meant as a minigame, but could be played as a standalone game as well, but you really couldn't get any of the neat exclusives from Final Fantasy VIII if you wanted to play that way. The game features Boko, that's B-O-K-O, in all of his monochromatic glory, and the PocketStation only had 5 buttons at the time, and you could walk around this generic environment and occasionally come into contact with several different types of events. Usually those events were battling, but sometimes you could get encounters with like allies and friends and other special events. And after you complete an event and level up, a new map loads and you just basically do it over again. So as battles are really common here, they're still limited quite a bit due to the PocketStation's power. Really, the battles themselves are just attacking until you or the enemy are defeated, basically. And it's a really kind of reduced down ATB system that the Final Fantasy games used back then. You could influence the countdown by spamming the left and right buttons to speed up that timer to attack, but that's pretty much all your options were. And as you win, you get these little magical stones, and they could be placed on this kind of grid board, and whenever you got 3 in a row, you could level up. So what was the point of even leveling up other than to beat enemies faster? Well, you could use this in conjunction with Final Fantasy VIII, and you could actually get the Boko Summon, in a sense, to level up and get more powerful. Now, if you don't know what the Boko Summon is, in Final Fantasy VIII, Boko's a Chocobo, a Chocobo chick, that you can summon using these Geisel Greens, and he doesn't really do a lot of damage or anything, but if you're playing Chocobo World and kind of send him off on his way and you do all the Chocobo World stuff, you can't summon him whenever you're playing Final Fantasy VIII until you put him back in there, but whenever you level up there, you can make him get more and more and more powerful, which is really cool. And even more so, just other than getting another powerful summon, you can level him up, and as you level him up, you're going to meet these different characters that I had alluded to before. You meet allies, and if you meet Cactar, and I'll give you the circumstances of all of these allies in a minute with the story, but you'll meet Cactar, and Cactar will actually give you some items, and it's really cool because there's this friendship item, and if you get that, you can use it in Final Fantasy VIII whenever you port Boko back over there, and you actually get a Moomba summon, which is pretty much the only way to get it in the game, which means that most of us that played Final Fantasy VIII on the PlayStation whenever it came out never got to experience the summon at all. So you know what? I'll show you the summon right now. Anyway, there are some other encounters in Chocobo World that are kind of interesting, which allow you to get and level up different attacks that Boko can do while you summon him in Final Fantasy VIII, but it's a very basic and simple game. And in fact, the premise of it, again, is pretty simple, and the story goes like this. In Chocobo World, you have Boko, and Minimog, and Moomba, Moomba, and Cactar, and they're all friends. And for whatever reason, Minimog decides to set out on a journey to Scary Mountain, and yes, that is the name. And he wants to find this treasure that was lost there, or that was left there. And apparently he wasn't smart enough to take any friends, so after he didn't return for a little while, the other three decided to go and rescue him. The other three being Boko, Moomba, and Cactar. So Boko was the leader, obviously. Moomba went to go get some weapons, while Cactar went to go get some items. And during your quest as Boko, you meet these characters, Moomba and Cactar, and you kind of all come together, and you eventually save Minimog, and that's it. Kind of. It's actually only part of the quest. Eventually, you meet another Chocobo named Coco who gives Boko a kiss. And Coco is actually eventually captured by this evil demon king, and Boko has to save her. So that's kind of like the main adventure part of the quest. And yeah, that kind of really did escalate from going and finding Minimog in Scary Mountain to battling a demon king. But there you go.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
There you go. That's Chocobo World. It's not a huge thing, but honestly, looking back on it, it was actually a really big part of Final Fantasy VIII that just most of us never really experienced. But remember, if you do want to play it now, you can go ahead and buy Final Fantasy VIII off of Steam, and it comes with a fully translated port of the game, so you can get all those really cool things. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it, so I'll end it there. If you like this series, the Year of Final Fantasy, I'd love for you to share this around, maybe subscribe, if you really like it. If you don't, that's completely cool too. I don't think there's a compendium on the internet quite like this series, so I appreciate all of you who do support me by liking and commenting and all of that. I love doing this series. But regardless, next time we do have more Chocobo goodness for you, so until then, Crystal Warriors, keep on gaming.